What's up? It's Pastor J Wade 2 here with your fresh revelation for this Friday. This probably be the last Friday that I go on at noon. I think it might be better if I go at a later time, but I advertised noon and I wanted to keep that promise. So uh today we're gonna continue with unleashing your greatness. And this will probably be the last part for right now because on next week we'll begin uh, with holidays and the mental health. I believe that's very important. And we'll come back to unleashing your greatness at the end of this year and the beginning of 2024. And we have some exciting new things coming forth in 2024 that we'll um, announce on a later date. We got some exciting things coming. Of course, you saw the podcast is coming, and we're going to do that soon. But we have some other things that's coming up, fresh revelation wise, at the end of this year, and the beginning of next year. So stay tuned for some announcements. Okay, so last week we talked about unleashing your greatness and how we were made by greatness, with greatness stamped inside and encoded into our DNA. And because God is great and He created us and took His time to create us and craft us and mold us, and He wonderfully and fearfully made us, that we are great. And it's not conceited to understand and to know that you're great because uh, in that Psalm 139:14, it says, and I know this right well, that God is great. And because He's great, I'm great. He created me great. So we've established that there is greatness inside of you, and that's a mindset that you have to have. And unleashing your greatness, the one thing that determines whether you unleash your greatness or not is your mindset. First of all, you have to know that God is great. You have to know that He created you greatly. And you have to know that He created you to be great and He placed greatness inside of you. And you have to know that because He's great, that makes you great. But that greatness that you have inside of you is dormant until until you until your mindset is that of which it's time to unleash my greatness. Your greatness and your mindset are two things that simultaneously work together to make greatness happen in your life. It's your mindset and it's your ability to tap into that mindset that allows you to unleash your greatness, that greatness that's inside of you. We know it's there. We know the Creator put it there. We know He has a plan and a purpose for your life that only you can fulfill. But there's something that has to happen in order for that greatness to be unleashed because it's there. But in a lot of us, it's dormant. We haven't tapped into it yet. We haven't unleashed it yet. There's greatness inside of us. But the question is, what have you done to unleash it? What are you doing currently that's unleashing your greatness? And that has to do with mindset. We talked about mindset, knowing certain things, but it's also a mindset of having a mind to do certain things. Knowing that you have something and then having the mindset to use it are two different things. And this mindset of knowing, that's what you have to have. But you also have to have the mindset of I'm going to do it. And there's a way to do it. It's not just enough to say, okay, I have this mindset. I know greatness is here. I know I can achieve greatness. I know I have greatness in my DNA. God made me great because He is great. It's not enough to understand that, and it's not enough to just do. We have to have a mindset of wanting to do the very best that we can in everything that we do. That's how greatness is unleashed. Having the mindset to be and to do the very best that we can with everything that we have. I posted a quote earlier today, and this is a very true statement. Perfection is the enemy of good, but good enough is the enemy of greatness. We have to get out of this mentality of just doing enough, letting it be good enough. We ought to want to strive to make everything we do great. And within you is the capacity to make everything you do great. Now, it may not be great to everybody, and everybody may not see the greatness, and everybody may not acknowledge the greatness, and everybody may not applaud your greatness, but that doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is the relationship between you and God, and that you've done everything you can do as great as you can do it. And there's a verse that will help us understand this. And I'm not going to be as long as I was last week. My wife told me that I was too long last week, so I'm going to try to keep this one under 20 minutes. So let's get to the verse so I can do that. Romans 12 verse 1. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. Now, in order to unleash the greatness that we have in us, we have to make sure that our relationship is right with God. And how do we do that? By doing everything that He says do, and not do everything that He says don't do. In other words, living for God is living by these commandments and these things that God said, the way that He says to live, by the example of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. If we live by these things, then we're on our way to unleashing this greatness. Greatness doesn't just happen for everybody, but greatness happens when you do these things. When the greatness in you is matched with you living for God, then greatness happens in your life and it exudes on the outside. But it takes a few things from us. We have to present our bodies a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto God. And for a lot of us, that's where the agreement falls down. That's where everything implodes, because we won't live for God. We won't present our bodies a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable. A sacrifice is forsaking something else for something. What am I saying? Well, sacrifice means that you would like and you feel comfortable, and it would be more pleasing to you to do something else, but it's beneficial for you to do this. I would like to be doing something else, but because it's not going to get me where I need to be or where I need to go or what I need to accomplish, because that's not going to happen because of what I want to do, I'm doing this. So, what does that mean? Well, I'm sacrificing what will make me feel good sometimes for what I am supposed to do. Every time you go to work, that's a sacrifice, because there's something different that will give you more joy for the moment. Every time you back away from that drink or that smoke or those drugs that'll make you feel different inside of you, Every time you pass that up to not do it because God says don't do it, that's a sacrifice. Every time you drop your kids off somewhere and you know you would rather be in the bed and you know you'd rather do, that's a sacrifice. So sacrificing means putting off what I want to do that would make me feel better to do what I need to do to make this whole thing work right. And we have to sacrifice in order to live for God. It's not easy. It's not an easy thing. There's some things I'd rather be doing right now than this. But because God put a mandate and a calling on my life, I sacrifice my time to do this, even if nobody sees it, even if nobody comments on it, even if it goes unnoticed. God has me doing it for a reason. And I will gladly sacrifice my time to do what God, because I'm presenting my body a living sacrifice for Him. And when we get this type of mindset, I'm going to do what God wants me to do no matter what. When we get that, when we get this type of mindset, it's just like the mindset of my favorite Michael Jeffrey Jordan. He says, I sacrificed, I worked hard, I gave of myself, I did the things I didn't want to do in order to do the things I had to do in order for me to succeed. I don't always want to be lifting weights, but I'm lifting weights. I don't always want to be shooting 1,000 jumpers a day, but I'm shooting them. I don't want to run around this court all morning with Dennis Rodman and Scottie Pippen. I don't want to do all of that. I don't want to be practicing when somebody else is chilling. But I'm doing it because I want to achieve greatness. And brothers and sisters, if you want to unleash that greatness inside of you, you have to sacrifice something. It's going to take you sacrificing of yourself and sacrificing yourself to God, and watch God do something great with you and in you and through you when you sacrifice yourself, a living sacrifice. It's not always easy to be at church every Sunday morning. It's not easy to go to Bible study and listen and learn. It's not easy to take time when you could be in the bed sleeping to be praying and reading and seeking God's guidance and His fresh revelations. It's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do because there's a million other things that you can do that would you feel like it will be a better use of your time. But you have to have this mindset of sacrificing yourself for God. That's when your greatness begins to get tapped into. That's when you start unleashing your greatness, when you're making yourself available to God for Him to do a work through you and pull out that greatness that's encoded into your DNA. Because only then are we acceptable unto God. Only then, when we decide to sacrifice ourselves to God, are we acceptable to Him. Set apart, holy, acceptable, living sacrifice. But guess what? This is what I wanted to get to. We have to make ourselves a living sacrifice, holy, set apart, acceptable unto God. But Paul says that's just the beginning, which is your reasonable service. In other words, he's saying, brothers, make your body a living sacrifice, present that to God, holy and acceptable unto Him. And that's the least you can do. God has done all of these things for you. He's created greatness inside of you. He's made you great. He's done all of these things for you and for your life. The least you can do is make yourself a living sacrifice unto Him. The least you can do. That's just enough. Living for Him, loving Him, learning His word, spending time in His word, praying and being just a God fearing person. Just being a follower of Jesus Christ, that's the least you can do. But greatness requires you to go beyond that. Living for God, that's just the least of it. That's what you owe God. Praising his name, living for him, spreading his gospel, reading his word, praying, doing the best you can to live the life that Jesus Christ lived, being a follower of Jesus. That's the very least you can do. And how can you expect greatness? And all you want to do is the least. And some of us are not even doing the least. Some of us are not even doing that. We expect greatness, but we don't want to give anything. We expect greatness and we don't want to do nothing. We just want God to show up and be great. Well, God is a transactional God. God expects returns on his investments, and God expects to get something from you if he's going to give something to you. And not only that, if we want these great and supernatural blessings from God, well, guess what? God is not going to give you a blessing that he can't get through you. What am I saying? God is not going to bless you in the way that you expect him to bless you if you can't bless somebody else. God is just transactional like that. And his transaction sometimes is backwards to us, because he said the first will be last, the last will be first, the least will be the greatest. These are the kind of things that Jesus says. Give, and then it'll be given to you. Those are the things that takes us beyond. Those are the things that unleashes the greatness that's in us when we go beyond what's just enough. Going to church on Sunday and Bible study and going to choir rehearsal and singing in the choir and participating in church, that's the least you can do. That's the least you can do. How can you expect greatness out of that? What are you willing to do beyond that in order to unleash this greatness? What are you willing to sacrifice? What are you willing to do in order for that greatness to be unleashed in your life? Just enough is never enough. God expects more. God expects returns for his investments. God respects you to give so he can give to you, because he knows that if he can get a blessing to you, he can get a blessing through you. If you can't give, then the reverse is true. Give and it shall be given. Don't give and it won't be given to you. Simple. Unleashing greatness has to do with more than enough. We want those abundant, more than enough, beyond blessings. He can do exceedingly abundantly above all we can ask or think. But yes, but it's according to the power that's in you. And that power that's in you has to prompt you to do something more. If you want more, you have to do more. If you want different, you have to do different. If you want greatness, you have to put out maximum effort. You have to give of yourself. And I'm not just talking about money. Give of yourself, give of your time, give of your wisdom. Who have you counseled lately? Who have you talked to lately? Who have you prayed for lately? Who have you given to lately? What are you doing? If you're doing nothing, there's no greatness that's going to be unleashed. What are you doing? Are you doing just enough? Or are you doing not enough? Or are you doing nothing? Well, if you want greatness, present your body a living sacrifice, and that's just the beginning. Go beyond that. You giving the tithe? Give beyond that. You giving your time at church? Give beyond that. You're helping clean up? Do more than that. Whatever it is that you're doing, do more. And watch God. Everything you touch will be great. Everything you do will be great. Everything you attempt will be great. Everything that you want to accomplish will get accomplished because you are lending yourself to God and doing more than enough. We have to get out of this just enough mentality, this just enough blues, because that's what it is. Because doing just enough, making yourself a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable, which is your reasonable service, which is the least you can do, doing the least you can do will get you sustenance. God will keep you. God will sustain you. But I want to be abundantly blessed. Do you want to be abundantly blessed? Do you want to reach greatness? Do you want everything you touch to be great? Well, you have to do more than enough. Just enough just won't do. Give maximum effort in everything you do. Prepare, work hard, give your best in everything that you do, and watch greatness be unleashed in your life. We're never going to reach perfection. Never going to do it. We're not perfect beings. Perfection is unattainable. Good enough just ain't good enough. We have to give maximum effort. And if we give maximum effort, God will bless the effort that we give and make what we do great. And we'll start walking in abundance. We'll start walking in that exceeding abundantly more than we can ask or think. We'll start walking in that when we start working towards that. God bless you. I love you. See you next time.